Greetings, dear subscribers and casual listeners of my channel. Do you remember Fleur Delacour, that witch from Beauxbatons who seemed completely helpless compared to the other champions? The determined Victor Crumb, the resourceful Cedric Diggory, and even young Harry Potter, who knew almost nothing and was the youngest participant in the tournament. After watching the movie, it's understandable why viewers might not have the best impression of Fleur Delacour. First, she was defeated by Grindylows, which Harry drove off with a single spell, and then she was dragged away by animated bushes. The French witch miraculously passed only one task in the tournament, and that off-screen, so it's no wonder her failures are what stand out most. However, if we turn to the books, Fleur Delacour emerges as an extremely interesting and likable character, far from the image of a typical vain beauty, incapable of acting independently or standing up to threats. Fleur's character unfolds gradually across several books, something the films, which significantly reduced her role, failed to capture fully. Today, I want to tell you more about her fascinating story. Enjoy. Number 1. More than human. In the world of Harry Potter, wizards with mixed magical creature heritage are rare, but they exist. Often such unique ancestry is immediately obvious, like in the case of Hagrid, whose mother was a giantess, or Tiny Flitwick, who has goblin blood. But not all cases are so evident at first glance. It can be hard to tell if someone is a half-blood or an ordinary human. Fleur Delacour is one such case. Yes, she looks like a girl of extraordinary beauty, and many likely see her as a goddess descended from the heavens. But there's nothing overtly non-human about her appearance. Still, Fleur's grandmother wasn't a witch, or even a muggle. She was a Veela, a magical creature renowned for its ability to charm men. This partly explains Ron's reaction to Fleur in The Goblet of Fire. He simply couldn't resist her allure. Quote, "She's got Veela blood," said Harry. "You were right. Her grandmother was a Veela. It's not your fault." Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. In their normal state, Veela look like stunningly beautiful women, but anger them, and they reveal their monstrous true form, complete with fire magic. Fortunately, Fleur never demonstrated such transformations, so she likely inherited only her grandmother's beauty and charm. Quote, "Harry noted that the Veela no longer seemed otherworldly and beautiful. Their faces had elongated into cruel, sharp-beaked bird heads, and scaly wings sprouted from their shoulders." "That's why, boys," shouted Mr. Weasley over the roar of the crowd, "you should never chase after looks alone." Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Number 2. The Special Wand. Fleur Delacour's uniqueness doesn't stop there. Did you think only the main character could have a special wand? Think again. Even Ollivander was surprised by Fleur's wand, which contains not just any Veela hair, a notoriously temperamental wand core, but one from Fleur's own grandmother. Truly a one-in-a-million situation. Quote, 9.5 inches, inflexible, rosewood. Oh my goodness! It contains a Veela hair from my grandmother. That's why she looks so much like a Veela, Harry thought, though he suddenly remembered he wasn't speaking to Ron at the moment. Yes, said Ollivander. I've never used Veela hair myself. Very temperamental cause. But to each their own, and if it suits you. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Number 3. The Untouchable Beauty. Fleur's personality matches her stunning appearance. To an outsider, she might come across as haughty, aloof, and perpetually looking down on others. She also doesn't hesitate to complain about the British whenever she gets the chance. J.K. Rowling worked hard to create this impression for readers, though the films only partially conveyed it. Quote, "In the corridors, Fleur Delacour was often seen, always looking proud and unflappable. She looked at me as though I were a slug, or worse, and didn't even respond. I don't know. snapped out of it and ran away as fast as I could. Everyone seemed to be enjoying life, except Fleur Delacour, who was constantly complaining about something. "Your food is too heavy. My beautiful robes will no longer fit me," she declared irritably one evening in the great hall. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. However, with those who manage to impress her or prove themselves, Fleur is incredibly kind and open. Around loved ones, she's a completely different person, though she's never shy about voicing her honest opinion on anything she dislikes. This honesty seems to be an intrinsic part of her French character. Moreover, Fleur is brave and selfless. When it comes to her family, she always puts their safety first. Quote, "Fleur's face and hands were scratched and cut, and her robes were torn, but she paid no attention to herself, refusing to let Madame Pomfrey clean her wounds. 'Look after Gabriel,' she pleaded with Madame Pomfrey, then approached Harry." Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Number 4. Phlegm. Fleur's proud behaviour caused significant tension when she temporarily moved into the burrow. Despite her warm relationship with Bill, getting along with the female members of the Weasley family was challenging. Mrs. Weasley and Ginny, who gave Fleur the mocking nickname Phlegm, found the foreign beauty downright irritating, and they barely hid their hostility toward her. Quote, "Everyone in the house sat down for Christmas dinner in their new sweaters, everyone except Fleur, on whom Mrs. Weasley apparently refused to waste her efforts." Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. For her part, Fleur wasn't much better. She loved Bill, cared for Harry and Ron, and even got along with Fred and George. But the proud Frenchwoman wasn't one to curry favour with anyone. She clearly wanted good relations with her fiancé's family, but if Mrs. Weasley and Ginny wouldn't accept her as she was, so be it. Quote, "Fleur, seemingly finding Celestina unbearably dull, spoke so loudly in the corner that Mrs. Weasley repeatedly jabbed her wand at the volume control, causing the singer's voice to blare louder and louder." Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Number 5. True Love. For almost a year, Mrs. Weasley lived under the same roof as her future daughter-in-law, quietly resenting her and lamenting Bill's choice of such a troublesome fiancé. She didn't believe that the foreign beauty, who always seemed dissatisfied, would make a good wife for her son. Surely, within a few years, this annoying Veela would leave Bill and move on to someone else. It was inevitable, or so Mrs. Weasley thought. Quote, "Well, your father and I were made for each other, so why wait?" said Mrs. Weasley dismissively. "But Bill and Fleur, what do they really have in common? Bill's a simple, hard-working man, and she's—" "A cow," Ginny nodded. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. But when Bill was bitten by Fenrir Greyback, a detail mentioned in the films, it not only proved Fleur's genuine love for him, but also completely changed Mrs. Weasley, Ginny, and everyone else's attitude toward the fiery French beauty. From that moment on, she became an integral part of the family, and no one doubted that Fleur was the perfect match for Bill. Quote, "Of course, it doesn't matter what he looks like. That's not important, but he was such a handsome boy, always so handsome, and about to get married." "What's that supposed to mean?" Fleur suddenly demanded loudly. "What do you mean, about to?" Mrs. Weasley turned to her, her tear-streaked face filled with fear. "Well, just that." "Do you think Bill will not want to marry me now?" Fleur asked furiously. "Do you think, because he has been bitten, I will stop loving him?" "No, that's not what I meant." "Good, because he will want to, and more than ever," Fleur declared, standing tall and tossing back her mane of silvery hair. "You think a little bite from a werewolf will stop Bill from loving me?" Yes, of course," Mrs. Weasley quickly agreed. "I just thought maybe, now that he's—" "You thought I would not want to marry him?" Fleur asked, her nostrils flaring. "That I only care about his looks? Well, My beauty is enough for both of us. And those scars show just how brave my husband is. Move, I will do it myself, she snapped, grabbing the ointment from Mrs. Weasley's hands. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Number 6. A caring wife. After their wedding, Fleur proved herself to be a devoted wife, ready to share both joys and hardships with her husband, and even to stand alongside him on the battlefield if necessary. The two were inseparable, always supporting each other. Fleur took care of Bill and anyone who fled from Malfoy Manor. She treated Hermione's and Griphook's wounds, nursed the frail Ollivander back to health, and patiently endured the goblin's demands, though her patience was wearing thin. She also tried to persuade Harry and the others to stay at Shell Cottage for as long as possible, insisting it was the safest place for them. Number 7. Smarter than she seems. Finally, Fleur is far from the shallow or unintelligent woman some viewers, and even some Harry Potter characters, initially thought her to be. Harry himself points this out, reminding others that Fleur was chosen by the Goblet of Fire as the most exceptional student at Beauxbatons, and someone with such a title can hardly be called foolish. Quote, Fleur's not stupid. After all, the Goblet of Fire chose her for the Triwizard Tournament, said Harry. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Fleur herself demonstrates her cleverness several times. For example, she is the first to analyze the situation with the 7 Potters and draw logical conclusions, which no one dared dispute. Harry, however, defended the group, saying he trusted everyone present and that if someone had accidentally leaked the plan, it was unintentional, like when Hagrid once revealed Fluffy's secret to Voldemort. Quote, This is all very well, Fleur said sharply, but it does not explain how they knew we were moving Harry tonight, does it? Someone must have leaked the date to an outsider. That is the only explanation for how they knew the day, but not the plan's specifics. Fleur, her beautiful face still streaked with tears, cast a furious glance around the room, daring anyone to argue with her. No one did. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Here's another example. Fleur was the first to suggest that Harry should be disguised during the wedding. The chosen one, who had been hidden so carefully, couldn't simply appear among 100 guests as if nothing was wrong. In the film, this precaution was ignored, a baffling decision. But in the book, Harry was disguised with Polyjuice Potion as one of the many Weasley relatives. Even after the Death Eaters attacked, they couldn't confirm whether Harry had been there at all, thanks to Fleur's foresight. Quote, We need to decide how to disguise you, Harry, Fleur said as everyone started on dessert. For the wedding, she added when he gave her a puzzled look. Of course, there will be no Death Eaters among our guests, but after they have had champagne, nothing is certain. Harry concluded from this remark that Hagrid was still on her watch list. Yes, that's a good idea, agreed Mrs. Weasley. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Number 8. Participation in the Battle of Hogwarts. Fleur Delacour was ready to fight until the very end. During the Battle of Hogwarts, she stayed by Bill's side. Danger didn't frighten her. She knew that what was at stake was not just their family, but the future of the wizarding world. We stay until the end, she told her husband firmly, her voice carrying no trace of doubt. Fleur helped the wounded. She didn't join the front lines, but her magic saved lives. Together with Madame Pomfrey, she turned the hospital wing into a sanctuary of hope. Fleur's spells stopped bleeding, eased pain, and brought people back from the brink. You're strong. Hold on, she whispered as she cast healing charms on a bloodied student. She didn't just heal, she inspired. Amid the chaos of the castle, her calm demeanor gave others strength. When frightened students didn't know what to do, she took their hands. You are the future, don't forget that, she assured the older students preparing for defense. Fleur also helped organize evacuations, directing the injured to portals and allocating resources. Her voice was quiet but firm. Even in the most critical moments, she remained composed. "If you can help, do it now," she urged a hesitant student unsure of what to do. Her strength came from her heart. When Fenrir Greyback attacked Lavender Brown, Fleur didn't hesitate. She rushed to the injured girl, ignoring the danger. Fleur's spells stopped the bleeding. "Hold on, Lavender, you're strong," she repeated until Madame Pomfrey took over her care. Fleur knew how to inspire. In one of the towers, she gathered a group of defenders, including frightened first years. She became their voice. "Every one of you matters. Together, we'll get through this," she told them, her words bolstering their courage and making them feel part of something greater. Fleur wasn't seeking glory, she wasn't interested in dueling, but she remained at the center of the action. Alongside Bill, she defended the hospital wing's entrance. Every time the doors shook under attack, she gripped her wand tighter. "We fight for home," she said firmly to her husband. Her heroism was quiet but vital. She saved lives, inspired others, and helped hold the line. The students she comforted would never forget her. "She was like a light in the darkness," one survivor would later say. Her presence became a symbol of hope. Number 9, a symbol of unity. Fleur and Bill's wedding became an event that united different worlds. Under one roof, French and British guests, wizards and muggles came together. Laughter and conversations in 2 languages blended into a single melody. "This is our fight," Fleur said as she raised her glass, "for love and for peace." Fleur proudly embraced her French heritage. Her gown, shimmering like starlight, was created by her grandmother. Every detail reflected a piece of her culture. "You look like a princess," Ginny whispered as Fleur entered the garden. The guests represented various parts of the wizarding world, members of the Order of the Phoenix, Weasley family friends, and Fleur's relatives. People who had never met before sat together, laughing and toasting. "Today, we're all one family," Arthur Weasley declared. Even the tension between Fleur and Mrs. Weasley was left in the past. Molly watched as Fleur gently adjusted Bill's tie. "She loves him," she admitted to Hermione. It was a moment of acceptance. When Death Eaters attacked, the celebration turned into a battlefield. But the unity forged during the wedding shone through. People protected one another, casting fear aside. "We won't back down," Bill shouted, standing alongside Kingsley. Fleur remained composed, even amid the chaos. She tended to the wounded and guided guests to safety through the portals. "This way, quickly," she called, raising her wand to light the path. Her confidence inspired everyone around her. The wedding became more than a celebration. It became a symbol of the fight for peace. People from different cultures stood united against evil. What began as a joyful event turned into a beacon of hope. Harry saw it. He watched as wizards from different countries fought side by side. "They're not here for themselves. They're here for all of us," he thought as he witnessed the battle. Number 10. Contribution to raising a new generation. After the war, Fleur and Bill became symbols of new beginnings. Their home at Shell Cottage was filled with warmth, laughter, and love. Children's voices echoed across the beach, and the scent of freshly baked bread wafted from the kitchen. "I hope our children grow up in a world without hatred," Fleur said softly, watching the little ones play. The Weasley Delacour home became a haven for friends and family. Harry and Ginny often visited to find peace. No one felt like a stranger there. "You're home," Bill would always say, handing over a cup of tea. Fleur raised her children to respect both cultures. They spoke English and French fluently and understood the traditions of both sides. "It's important to remember your roots," she said, teaching her daughter an old French song. Their children, Victoire, Dominique, and Louis, grew up surrounded by love. Fleur and Bill taught them to be kind, brave, and honest. "Listen to your heart," Bill advised his son, guiding him through life's challenges. Victoire often cared for her younger siblings at family gatherings, her kindness reminding everyone of her mother. "She's so much like Fleur," Ginny smiled, watching the girl comfort a crying cousin. Fleur was strict but loving. When her children quarreled, she quickly found solutions. "We're one family," she said, hugging them. "Together, we're stronger." These words stayed with them throughout their lives. Bill shared stories of the war, but always emphasized the importance of peace. "Hatred destroys, love builds," he said, reminding them why they had fought. His stories inspired the children to strive to be better. Even their neighbors noticed how kind Fleur and Bill's children were. Victoire helped the elderly, and Louis delivered groceries to the sick. "It's thanks to you," a neighbor once told Fleur, watching her children help stack firewood. Fleur and Bill knew their greatest mission was raising the next generation. They taught their children to fight for peace, not with force, but with kindness. "The future starts with us," Bill said, embracing his son. Number 11. Serving a greater cause. Fleur couldn't stand idly by while the world fell apart. She joined the Order of the Phoenix, knowing that fighting Voldemort was everyone's duty. "We can't just sit back," she told Bill firmly. "If we don't fight for a better future, who will?" Shell Cottage became a sanctuary for many. The wounded, the weary, and the hopeless found refuge there. Fleur cared for everyone. She cast healing spells, prepared meals, and offered encouragement. "You're safe here. No one will harm you," she assured Ollivander as she bandaged his arm. Her support went beyond healing. She gave people the strength to keep going. Ollivander, who had seemed utterly broken, thanked her for her kindness. "You'll make great wands again," Fleur said warmly, pouring him a bowl of soup. Even in the small things, Fleur showed her resolve. When Harry was preparing to leave, she insisted he take provisions. "The world needs you alive," she said firmly, pressing a bag into his hands. She wasn't afraid of taking risks. When news came of Lupin and Tonks being captured, Fleur insisted the Order act. "They would do the same for us," she declared, looking Bill in the eye. Her words were always resolute. When the Battle of Hogwarts began, Fleur didn't stand aside. She returned with Bill. "This is our home, and we'll defend it," she said, pointing her wand at the enemy. "That's it for now. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I hope this means you found it interesting. If so, don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel.